Hello, TCI family, Jonathan's Refuge, the Church of Inclusion around the world, and our faithful friends and followers. You see this beautiful fur ball in my arms. Say hello, world, to Belle Brown. Actually, her legal name is Beautiful Belle Brown, registered with the AKC. She is a white German Shepherd, and she is an amazing dog. She's only almost 12 weeks. In 2 days, she'll be 12 weeks. And she is so smart. Okay, I got to get working, so you go have fun. Okay. She is part of our therapy program at our nonprofit, Grace Connection Services. And there's some exciting things happening. TCI is just one division. The Church of Inclusion is just the spiritual side of what we do. GCS is the nonprofit that deals with all the government, keeping them separate entities of church and state, making sure that the nonprofit that helps does only that. We're not a spiritual organization. It's a separate organization over here, and a lot of the people are back and forth in both because we're doing a lot of amazing things together, and they work hand in hand, but yet they are separate. So this is TCI family. What I want to do is jump right into the message as I always do. I try to keep them 15 minutes, 20 most. Nobody needs to speak longer than that unless we're doing some in-depth training. So as you all know, we're an inclusive organization, which means we believe all faiths lead to the same God. All books, if it's the Bible or the Quran or the Vedas or any of the spiritual books behind me, the Hindu texts and things of that nature, or any of the Native American religious beliefs and their texts, we all believe it's all talking about the same God. It's just been written about in many different ways. We believe that the Spirit of God comes down in different forms. It's come as Jesus and a Buddha and as other people. Some would say it hasn't, that they were just men, but that they connected to the great consciousness. And that is a whole nother subject. But let's go through the Bible. Again, I want to talk in the book of Genesis, and the chapter is 29. And it's chapter 29, verse 20. Forgive me, my throat's got a little tickle in it. So verse 20 says, "So Jacob served 7 years for Rachel, and they seemed only a few days to him because his love for her grew." There's a man named Jacob. Later, you all will know his name got changed, and everyone knows it because you've heard of the country called Israel. That's his second name. This man's first name, birth name, was Jacob. And Jacob is a man who God had him change his name to become Israel. And he said, "From you, I will birth a nation." He had 12 sons. So you might have heard of how there was 12 tribes that make up the country of Judah, 12 states. And each one of this man, Israel and Jacob are the same person. His name was Jacob until he got older and God had to change his name to Israel. He had 12 sons. They all became the head of tribes that we all know as the tribes of Judah, the 12 tribes of Israel. So this guy wanted to get married to this woman named Rachel. She was smoking hot and he was in love. Maybe a little lust too, but lots of love. This man's heart got snatched, just as my wife snatched mine. And so here's what happens. He cuts a deal with the dad because back then, listen, I'm not saying this is all right, by the way, because I didn't go to my wife's father and say, "I'll give you 6 herds of goats and a sheep and 1 pig for my wife, for your daughter." But that's what they did back then. And that's how the world worked. So back then he cut a deal with her father and said, "I'll work for you for 7 years. And I will give you my labor for 7 years. And at the end of my 7 years, as working by your side, I get to marry your daughter, Rachel." And he said, "Yes." So it's time now. So he ends up, then Jacob said to Laban, "Give me my wife, for my days are fulfilled, that I may go into her." And Laban gathered together all the men of the place and made a feast. Laban was Rachel's dad. Now it came to pass in the evening that he took Leah, his daughter. Leah's not Rachel. Where's this daughter coming from? What's that all about? Who's Leah? He took that daughter and brought her to Jacob, and he went into her. And Laban gave his maid Zilpah to his daughter Leah as a maid. So there's a lot of people that would have sex in the old days, and they didn't even see what the package was. They faces are covered, they're fully covered, there's all kinds of things. It's a little interesting, but the father, in other words, played a slick move of promising one daughter and giving another. So here's what happens. So it came to pass in the morning that, behold, I rolled over and the veil fell off. "You're not my wife, Rachel. Where's Rachel?" She's like, "I'm Leah. I'm the sister." And he said to Laban, the father-in-law, what is this you have done to me? What? Was it not for Rachel that I served you? Why then have you deceived me? He tells him. And the father-in-law, Laban, says, it must not be done so in our country to give the younger daughter before the firstborn. Fulfill her week and all of her work, and we will give you this one also for the service which you will serve with me another 7 years. So wait a second. This cat agrees to 7 years labor for a hand in marriage. Does it? Dad plays a slick one, gives her the other daughter that he couldn't marry off because no one wanted her, gives her to him. And then when he's teed off and tries to say, you need to fix this, he's like, oh, sure, I'll fix it. I'll give you the one you wanted, Rachel, but you got to work another 7. And you got to take care of the first one. Wow. Man, I don't know about you. I'll be honest with you. This Jacob guy, man, Rachel must have been amazing. Because I don't know if I worked 14 years. Now, I say that joking because most of you, if you know my story with my wife, Cynthia, the first lady of TCI, I lived 4 hours round trip from her. So for me to drive down and drop off flowers would take me 4 hours, gentlemen. I don't know how far you got to go to see your wife, but I had to go 4 hours. And I would drive down 2 hours in deadlock traffic. Sometimes that took 3 or 4 to get there, and then another 2 to get back. So sometimes I'd spend 5 to 6 hours every week, and I'd drive all the way down there and drop off flowers, then drive away and call and say, hey, I had a package delivered to you about 15 minutes ago. Have you seen it? Open the front porch. Bam, there's the flowers. I did this week after week, after month, after the year. Continuing. And people said, are you crazy? Is she that amazing? Well, actually, she is. She really is. And I did that year and month after month until I finally won my wife's hand in marriage. And I say won because it was hers to give away. And I really value the fact that she chose also to love me and fall in love with me. So it was a little different. I wasn't horse trading, animals and labor to win a hand in marriage because we both had been married before. And it was a matter of both of us seeing if we really wanted to fall in love again because neither one of us really cared to do that. It wasn't our goals. And then we found each other and we fell in love and all the rest of it's history. So I can relate to this cat, Jacob, who becomes Israel, okay, the father of the country Israel. But here's what I want to point out. I was a boy about 6 years old when every year after that, I can tell you from 6 years on, I have spent my last 42 years going annually to anywhere from 2 to 3 conferences on leadership every year, not 1 year. While everyone else spent their summer, their little 2-month, 3-month summers, that they get in breaks, everyone else went off and did things like Disneyland and the mountains and trips in the Bahamas and cruises. Not this kid. My dad had me in board meetings. I was in board meetings before my first year was 6 years old. 6 years old. My first board meeting. I had to wear a tie. Had to dress up. Had to take meticulous notes. Not speak at all. Be there, but don't be seen or heard. And then I had to get drilled after every board meeting. And some of these were big companies. This is publicly traded sometime. So you're talking days of meetings. And I mean, I remember watching as a 7-year-old what they call a hostile takeover. By the time I was 11 years old, I could actually walk you through a hostile takeover and know how to do it. And I could show you, if you were having someone try to do a hostile takeover, how easy it is to stop it. There's a lot of things I learned before I even started dating. Why? I've been trained my whole life. And this scripture is one of the keys to my success. It's the story of a man who had the passion for something so bad and such burning desire in his heart and his soul, in the essence of who he was, that he literally was willing to work 7 years of his life to marry someone that he thought was the end of all things, the most beautiful, amazing wife. And guess what? He not only did 7 years, but then he picked up a wife he didn't want and did another 7 to get to the prize that he wanted in his life. Because I assure you, that was the best thing in the world for him. And he was not going to take his eye off of that. That prize is what you desire. What is the prize in your life? Is it a healthy marriage? Is it a healthy relationship with your CCOs? Do you want to have a healthy relationship in society? Do you want to have a good, healthy relationship with your employees, your teachers? What is it in life that says, I will give 7 years, and then when I find out they shafted me, I'll give another 7 because I'm going to get it. 14 years to marry this woman, to get the dream that he wanted? 6 years old. I've been working on the concepts that I am currently in the process of unloading and opening to the world right now in the last few years. These are things that I've been working on since I was 6 years old, folks. I'm 48. That means 42 years ago. The concept, if you read the church bylaws, TCI, go on the website. I encourage you, www.inclusion.church. So it's .inclusion.church. That's the website address. Go on there and look at our bylaws. Look at what it says for our rules and regulations. It's really simple. Love all. And I've been working on this stuff since I was 6 years old. This is a dream of 6 years, 42 years in the making. And people always say, how bad do you want this? Why are you so passionate? It's carried me 42 years. I've gotten off track. I became a thug. And then I graduated to mobster. And then I graduated from that and got out of that life, got by the grace of God and loved ones and a dear mother who saw me through it. I love you, Mama Kelly, and thank you. What do you want? What is it inside of you? When I was 450 pounds, listen, I'm going to get graphic right now, so this could, offend some people. When I was 455 pounds, I'm going to share right now something that I've never shared, and I've only discussed it in the book that I'm in the process of writing, and you'll get all the details in the book, but I'm going to briefly share with you one of the most humiliating, worst moments of my life. I woke up at 450 pounds, very powerful man, very wealthy, very influential, many employees, multiple millions of dollars in real estate, multiple listings up and down. And I say listings, like my own properties, rental properties that I was building for retirement funds, that kind of stuff. The resorts that I ran across the globe. And you know something? I just wasn't paying attention, and I became 450 pounds. It seemed like it was overnight. 450 pounds, folks. I woke up one day and I couldn't wipe my own butt. So I had to use a shower to clean myself. And so I did, but I wasn't broken yet. That came very short. It was when a son of mine, my youngest, Maximus, when he walked in the bathroom one day and I was showering off from using the restroom. And my son, I yelled at him and he ran out. And when he did, he ran to his mom, my ex-wife, and he said, "What was Daddy doing? He was washing poop all over from his, bottom." And I heard my wife, who was drunk and laughing hysterically and saying, "Oh, that's your dad. He's so fat, he can't even wipe his own keister." And that day, that moment, this story of this man popped right into my head from all those trainings and lessons and conferences and the thousands, millions probably of my life of things that we've seen and done that have helped me to this moment at that time in that bathroom in that humiliated state. I wasn't a man. If I was a man to kill myself, I would have done it. But that's not who I am. So I turned it inside and I said, okay, we're going to change this thing. And that next morning I got up and I remember the ex-wife rolling over and said, "What are you doing?" I said, "I'm going for a walk." And she laughed at me. She said, "Going for a walk?" Yeah. I could only walk a few houses. I literally got about 7 houses. That was it. That was all I could do. And I was proud of myself because my eye was on the prize. And I knew I had it because I had 7 houses down. And that meant that by maybe a month, maybe 6 months, maybe a year, I could get 14 houses. And then I'd walk a half a mile and then I'd get a mile. And now Look at this kid. This kid walks every day 4 miles, Monday through Friday. This kid is climbing mountains that are volcanoes that are going to, I'm going to Denali, folks, in the spring. Denali, Alaska, 20,320 feet high. And you're in the middle of nowhere where they land, you know, the trailhead, you don't drive to it. They land you on a float plane of skis that lands on a glacier, drops you off, and then disappears. And you're out there for 3 weeks by yourself. The same guy who couldn't walk 7 houses. See, I knew when I had the 7 houses, I saw everything with the end in mind. I saw right where I'm at right now. I saw my weight losing 280 pounds, which I dropped 280 pounds. Then I got so skinny that I was like, oh my God, I look like a crackhead. I needed to put on a little weight. And I did. And now I'm doing so well that after we get back from Denali, I head off to Mexico and I walk from Mexico to Canada on the Pacific Crest Trail. It takes 5-6 months to do. I'm doing it by myself with all my health conditions, with all my problems and obstacles that are opportunities in my life. I am going to inspire people to show them the passion of a man that would work 14 years is the same passion that fired up a fat man at 450 pounds and said, get your butt out there. You can do this. But I got problems. Yep, you do. And let's overcome them. We can do this. I promise you, folks, I don't care what problem you have in your life. If it's a drug addiction, if it's an addiction to sex, if it's an addiction to gorging or hiding things, or I don't know what it is, whatever those addictions are in your life, it doesn't mean you're bad, by the way. Everyone has addictions. Sometimes I can get addicted sometimes to the books I'm reading that I just delve so far into them that I almost forget that I got a life out here. Oh gosh, my poor wife. I've neglected her. I've been reading so much. Or maybe my love of the mountains. I have found myself at times, my job, part of it is all those mountains. That's part of my job. But I do find myself out there a little more than just my job. And so I have to remember my passion. I have all these responsibilities. What are the addictions in your life? Some of them are good and some of them are bad. Going to the mountains is a good addiction, but it still needs to be checked and balanced. Okay. Going with to watch the sunset with your wife is a great thing to have as a goal to be addicted to. Taking your husband and going somewhere. These are great things to be addicted to. And that's a good thing. Okay. But what addictions, what things in you are holding you back? Because I promise you, I woke up one day with shame in my heart, for I had let myself become 450 pounds. He had let himself work 7 years and get bamboozled, and he did another 7. Folks, getting the 280 pounds off was the hardest thing I ever did, but it was the simplest thing to do. Now I've paid the price since then. I had the 4 heart attacks, the 5 heart surgeries, the 2 massive strokes, the 33 mini strokes, the 2 pulmonary embolisms. And guess what? I get to go in Monday for another surgery a couple of days from now. And any surgery for me, if they're just going in, if I'm going under any anesthesiology, I'm most likely not coming back. The percentages is really sad. They when they tell you, but it's because I've died already 3 times. 2 of them were on the operating table. Now, luckily for me, I'm a fighter, and I think the good Lord doesn't want me up there. I'm hoping it's because it's not my time and not that He doesn't want me. But the point of it is, I don't care. I won't stop until I get what I want. And I wanted Cynthia Ingram at the time to become Cynthia Brown. And I worked diligently and faithful and hard to earn that love. And so what are you willing to do to have your dreams? What do you want to get what you want out of life? That's the question for the week, my friends. So what is it you're passionate about? Was it the girl you want to marry, the guy you want to marry? Is it the business you want to start? My friend's starting a dog business inside with us. We're doing this whole thing inside of the Grace Connection services with dog therapy. And there's so many exciting things. And this guy's we're about to turn on our own program that's going to take people like Cesar Millan, who I respect and love. We're going to be the Cesar Millan of this region, the Pacific Northwest. This is exciting things. Why is that going to happen? Because of a passion of someone. We just had our annual board meeting. There was so much passion there. And now the vision has been cast and more people are passionate about what we're doing because it's now their company. It's now their buy-in. It's their vision. And they also, like me, know how to be successful. So are you going to be that person who just says, oh, okay, I'll settle for the daughter that nobody in life wanted and just be normal? Or are you saying, no, I'll go the next 7 years. I'm good. I'll go 14 more. I want what I want. Are you willing to be that person that says, I'll drop 280 pounds because I want to be healthy? I want to be healthy. What are you willing to do to get out of going to the hospital, to get out of putting those shots in you? I had to take diabetic shots all the time, nonstop, and I'd pass out, fall out, all this stuff. Guess what? I was passionate about losing it so I could get rid of that. I don't stab myself anymore. Not like that. Yeah, I beat diabetes. You can beat it. All right. I love you guys. 20 minutes is up. Listen to me. Go out this week. Find out what you're passionate about. Reach out, email, text, call. Come and visit us every Thursdays in Marysville at the church. We would love to have you. Reach out and call us or hop on the website. Get connected. Plug in. God bless. Live positive. Let's coexist. And let's do so with passion.